This is the briefing for Friday, July 28th. Really interesting day today in the stock indices. Once again, yesterday's move to the downside was certainly impressive, to say the least. If you remember from yesterday's briefing, I really analyzed this whole thing pretty carefully, including the fact that breadth was supporting the move to the downside, as you can see, and volume was moving higher also, and it appeared that there was a possibility of follow through in today's trading, but that was not to be the case. And we had a gap up in the morning, and then of course there was follow through. Now this is a 15-minute chart, so here's the first candle that you can see right there that opened on the first 15-minute basis. The next 15 minutes, you can see the move higher. And there was follow through for the rest of the day until we got this move back to the downside. Now it's interesting that this move to the downside comes in right around 455. I need to move my alert there, my trend line there, down here, because we did come back down and test this 455 area, which was where the first candle was the low of the day. So it comes in right around 455 area. Now, it's important to recognize now that 457 was initial support until we broke it yesterday. Then it became resistance until we broke through today. And I should note, and I think I did yesterday also, that a lot of times when we get into an area or a key reference area, support or resistance, the traders will step back to try to determine whether value is really going to be higher or whether it's going to be lower. So you get a pause, and you can see the pause right here before we broke out to the downside. You can see the pause right here just above that 457 area before we saw the rotation back down again, then the rotation back up to 457, and another pause for the rest of the day today. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in Monday's trading. Now in the Qs, same thing occurred. You can see the first opening candle on a 15-minute basis. There was follow through, a little bit of a pause here, then a move up to test yesterday's high, then the rotation down and rotation back up once again. Support in the Qs comes in right at the 380, right around the 380.50 area, and then below that is going to be 378, and then below that is going to be 375. Now you can see that in both of these indices, breadth expanded nicely in today's trading. There is somewhat of a divergence here. It's a slight divergence. You can see that breadth was at a peak. I think it's right about this point here. Then we got the pause and we got a higher high, but breadth did not expand, supporting that move, which suggested then that we were going to see potentially a pause and possibly some type of rotation to the downside. And that's exactly what we got. Same thing occurred with the Qs or with the NASDAQ breadth. It was basically flat for the whole day, but it was strong. I have to give the market that it was strong breadth in today's trading. Now I want to step up a time frame to a 60-minute chart and show this once again. You can see this was the open first hourly candle. And I spoke to this both in Wednesday and Thursday's briefing, that the first hour is typically the most important, as well as the last hour of trading. In the first hour, you can see that we had this first candle here, then we had follow through. The same thing occurred with the Qs. We had the first candle and then follow through. And that did not occur with the Russell, which was very interesting to see. So the Russell gapped up and paused for the rest of the day. You can see Russell breadth was fairly strong, but then declined slightly as we went through the day. Now, from a longer term perspective, you can see that we're basically still in an area of rotation right through here. Volume on the spiders ticked down in today's trading, but breadth increased in today's trading as well. Now, in the NASDAQ or the Qs, you can see we're still in an area of rotation here, broken out, retested the breakout point, and then, of course, it appears that we're going to retest this upper extreme from the 19th of July. Support comes in the Qs right around 373 area, and then below that's going to be about the 355 area as well. And you can see volume tick down slightly. Breadth increased nicely in the NASDAQ, supporting the move up. I'm surprised that we didn't see the Qs take out yesterday's high because breadth was fairly strong. Is impressive today. And then, of course, the Russell is just still in an area of rotation. We've got the breakout here, area of rotation. We've got right around the 194 area is the upper extreme from this 4 days of trading and the lower extreme from these days of trading. So that 194 area is really important in terms of the Russell. And then, of course, breaking out to the upside around 198 is going to be important as well. Volume falling off in the IWM as well, but breadth expanding nicely in the Russell also. We did reach a point of being slightly oversold yesterday. We worked that off because of the strong breadth reading today. We are slightly overbought in the S&Ps, or I should say in the NYSE, and then we are at a point of being extremely overbought in the NASDAQ. So going to be watching this importantly for Monday's trading. Now you can see this is total volume in the NYSE. Volume ticked down slightly. It was a pretty nice move up yesterday. Same thing with the NASDAQ volume ticking down. So some divergences here, which are going to be very interesting to see how they're reconciled. I was really surprised to see the extent of the price move in today's trading. To see that almost all of yesterday's rotation lower was retraced in all of the indices. Now, this is the part that gives me a little bit of concern, so to speak, over the continuation of the rally. Now, this is the percentage of stocks above their 50-day moving average and their 200-day moving average. This is for the S&P 500. So you can see that the S&P 500 has broken through their trend line in terms of the percentage of stocks above their 50-day moving average. I don't have a trend line here, but it looks like to me that it's pretty much on trend. We had to get a little bit of a tick up today, but this is still holding up fairly strong. In terms of the NASDAQ, you can see the same thing. It's basically still holding above trend. The last couple days, going back to the 12th of July, you can see that it has been trending down, but still holding above trend. And the same thing, if I had a trend line here, would be the same thing in terms of the 200-day moving average. And the Russell basically holding firm. You can see rotational pattern of the percentage of stocks above the 50-day moving average, and the same thing with the 200-day moving average. So really not seeing any decline in the percentage of stocks above their 50 and 200-day moving averages, although I'm a little concerned over what's happening with the spiders breaking through. This is the S&P breaking through their trend line for the 50-day moving average, but we'll see what happens in next week's trading. Going to be a really important week next week, especially if we see the move from today retraced once again. So keep in mind, from a shorter term basis, at least if you're looking at short term trends, we've got a pretty good area of rotation here on a 15-minute chart for the spiders, and about the same thing for the Qs right through here. So using trade location, using the high of today right around 458, the low of today around 455, and the high of today at 484, 485 in the Qs, and the low of today, actually I would look at this low right here at 381.60. If that's traded through, then the gap is going to get tested. If the gap is traded through, it's going to get closed, and we'll potentially see lower prices. On the other hand, caution should be used to the upside on Monday in terms of higher prices, but no divergence in breadth. If there is a divergence in breadth, be very cautious to the long side of this market. This market needs to strengthen internally to the upside in terms of market breadth if we're going to see a continuation of higher prices. this anomaly that happened yesterday still gives me a little bit of concern over whether we could see another thrust to the downside before this is over. Have a great weekend, and I'll pick this back up on Monday.